Ministerio TIC.
Amigos y amigas del podcast, qué gusto estar de vuelta con ustedes. Mi nombre es Alejandro Marín, este es Canal 13, este es el podcast y hoy tengo dos invitados musicales muy especiales que quiero que conozcan. Si no han escuchado todavía su música y si de pronto ya la han escuchado pero no han tenido la oportunidad como de acercarse un poquito a ellos como seres humanos, pues yo creo que esta va a ser la ocasión perfecta. Se trata de Teddy Swims y de Parcels. ¿Por qué los conectamos a los dos? Primero porque estuvieron en Stereo Picnic y porque estas dos charlas fueron una de 3 conversaciones que dieron a medios de comunicación. Es decir, no todo el mundo habló con Parcels, no todo el mundo habló con Teddy Swims y yo creo que eso amerita que ustedes, los y las televidentes de Canal 13, pues tengan acceso a estas conversaciones, sobre todo aquellos y aquellas de ustedes que tienen curiosidad por qué está pasando en el mundo de la música, en el negocio de la música, en esto de los conciertos, de los festivales, a toda la gente joven que me ve y que aspira a convertirse en músico o en música o en artista o en productor. Pues bueno, estos dos representantes de la música internacional son importantes además porque en el caso de Parcels son una banda australiana que comenzó su carrera más o menos en 2016 o 2017 y se fue haciendo a una fanaticada de nicho y de segmento, como lo hemos hablado en otras ocasiones y en otros programas, que es donde siento yo que están pasando las grandes cosas de la música. Y cuando digo grandes no quiere decir que el impacto global se mida o con números de ventas, o con números de reproducciones en Spotify, o números de visibilidades en YouTube, sino en términos de relevancia para ciertos públicos. Entonces, Parcels es bastante relevante para un público que durante mucho tiempo, estamos hablando por ahí de entre 2006 y 2015, ha habitado en 2 lugares bien interesantes de la cultura alternativa: las discotecas, los clubes, los lugares donde se baila electrónica, y los bares y los clubes o los pubs de rock donde se ha fermentado la cultura de lo alternativo, del rock, de bandas como los Strokes, de bandas como los Arctic Monkeys. Y hay una conexión ahí que a mitad de la década de los 2000 se hizo muy evidente cuando la electrónica y el indie empezaron a conectarse de formas bien interesantes, de manera que también los públicos empezaron a hacerlo, y lo que resultó fue una escena de festivales muy saludable, muy fructífera, que hoy en día pues se ve representada en eventos gigantescos como el Festival Stereo Picnic o el Festival Cordillera, y que comparte algunos valores como el rockear y el bailar al tiempo. Entonces Parcels es un poco como el resultado de esa situación. Tanto así que por allá como en 2018-2019 esta banda australiana decidió migrar para Alemania, donde hay una cultura de clubes y de discotecas muy importante y de clubes underground que celebran la música alternativa, pero también celebran el techno y otras formas densas y fuertes de electrónica, y experimentaron con esa corriente de lo electrónico sin tener mucho éxito, por lo cual regresaron un poco a su hábitat, que es nuevamente esa conexión entre el baile y lo indie. Volvieron a Bogotá, donde además hicieron un show adicional o paralelo al Stereo Picnic, que fue tan exitoso como el show que hicieron en el Festival Stereo Picnic en el Parque Simón Bolívar, uno de los más importantes para mucha gente en esta edición de 2025. Presentaron un disco nuevo con una estrategia muy interesante que consiste en compartir algunas de las canciones nuevas como Live Your Love con algunos de los músicos más importantes de diferentes regiones donde ellos han cosechado y han cultivado una fanaticada importante como México y como Brasil. Entonces, músicos y artistas grandísimos de esos lugares como Jimena Sariñana y otros han logrado cantar estas canciones originalmente en inglés, en español, y de esta manera han ampliado las posibilidades para Parcels. Entonces, hablamos de eso con ellos. Y la otra razón por la cual estamos aquí hoy hablando de Stereo Picnic nuevamente es porque estuvo con nosotros Teddy Swims, quien es una de las figuras más importantes del rock de los Estados Unidos, junto a Benson Boone, el hombre de Beautiful Things. Teddy se hizo muy famoso en pandemia haciendo covers de diferentes artistas. Una de las canciones más importantes que hizo es una canción muy bella de 1989 llamada Can't Make You Love Me, de una artista de country llamada Bonnie Raitt. Por lo menos así fue como yo llegué a Teddy Swims, a su canal de YouTube, y fue a través de esos descubrimientos que Teddy se fue haciendo muy grande, y en 2024 publicó una canción llamada Lose Control que explotó y que se volvió viral y que constituye uno de los más recientes productos que pueden considerarse un legado del rock, folk, soul. Tres géneros que parece que no conectarían, pero que lo hacen muy bien en la voz de este maravilloso hombre que es del sur de los Estados Unidos, desde Georgia, y que me dio la oportunidad de conversar con él luego de ese devastador éxito que fueron Lose Control, luego de eso The Door, y la más reciente canción se llama Bad Dreams. Hablamos con él un poco de giras, hablamos de sus inicios, hablamos de su canal de YouTube, hablamos de su familia y de muchas cosas más. Entonces va a ser un placer presentarles el día de hoy, la noche de hoy, estas dos conversaciones con dos figuras bien interesantes de la música alternativa en Australia, en los Estados Unidos, Teddy Swims y Parcels, aquí en el podcast por Canal 13. How you been?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah.
Looking forward to coming over?
So looking forward to coming over. I feel like we've been waiting to do this tour for years and years. I feel like it's finally happening.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
exciting.
And you guys recently announced the European Arena Tour for 2025, which is including a significant performance at London's OVO Arena, Wembley. So I want to ask you, and aside from, getting ready for this tour in Latin America, how you're preparing for this milestone for you guys, and what you think fans are going to want to expect or can expect from these upcoming shows.
Yeah, it was a real discerning decision to decide to do these really big, large shows rather than do a couple of like smaller ones. And we really wanted to have that feeling like we were just going for it in a really large way. We wanted the show to feel large. We wanted to feel like like a big band, and for the show to reflect that, and the album that we've written to reflect that. And so we're kind of working in this way that we've never worked before, which is trying to just get outside of our own little skin and like Australian insecurities, and maybe be like, we can be a big arena band or something like that self-confidence maybe.
Cool.
So we're working with really amazing people and building this show, and it's really exciting to what it's going to be and what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like. It's going to be the biggest thing we've done in our young lives, definitely.
That's an amazing step to take, especially in this day and age. And I want to know what ignites this idea of getting out of the comfort zone and just, going big, going for the big leagues. What sparks this interest?
I think whatever you do is always a reaction from what you've just quite recently done in the past. And I feel like for our last record, at least the Day and the Night record, was very heady, very inside of our brains, very inside of our minds, and very insular and maybe overthought in a way. And the new record is trying to be less of that, just less thought, less planned out, or less inside of ourselves and more for other people, and kind of almost going back to the sound that kind of started the band in a way. And inside of that, it's very much just like, I want to give this expression to people, to a large amount of, like, to a bigger audience. And yeah, just wanting to go for it. Or like maybe it's also getting on and like being in a band for a certain amount of time, and you like want to keep it fun and exciting, and yeah, just feels like the next step kind of thing.
Do you have to sacrifice anything in that process? Are there things that you as a group just say, once you decide not being this insular, as you mentioned, and just trying to be broad, are there artistic sacrifices or decisions?
Yeah, definitely. You lose some songs sometimes, you lose like amazing, intimate moments that would have otherwise been so amazing on another record, but maybe they don't fit on this record, or maybe you lose a little bit of like closeness and personality and like intimacy with that. When you like trying to speak to a broader audience, you definitely lose some personality, and we've let go of as we always do with every record, you lose a lot of songs, and some don't make them, and it's always a loss to see those songs go, and maybe they'll come back again, and maybe you'll never see them again, or you don't know where they go. But we've definitely had to make some hard decisions in this process.
Now let's talk about the songs that do make it, like Leave Your Love, which marks this return after some time. And I would like you to, walk me through some of the inspirations. And if you could share with me some of the stuff that's behind the making of this track and how it reflects that current musical direction for the band.
Yeah, exactly. Leave Your Love was the initiator of this feeling where we were like, hey, maybe we can just like sing this song about love, and for it to feel flippant and open and really direct. And it was this almost like, I remember making the song in Mexico, and there was almost this like little guilty feeling about it. It was so like fun and kitschy and direct that I felt like, oh, is this too far, or is this too much, or is this too direct? But in the end, we realized, let's lean into this, and we wanted to lean into that feeling, and it has kind of initiated the whole feeling of the record in a way, of all of the songs kind of being more in that vein and more, open, and also more individual as well. That song has the individual verses, and there's also push for that on this record, more individuality, more expression from each member. And so it was Leave Your Love was kind of the start of the feeling for the record for us, and one of the first songs that we made off the record.
So does it set the tone for the familiarity that you were mentioning?
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah, I think it does. It sets that tone, and that's what all first singles kind of do in a way. You kind of intentionally setting the tone for what's going to come, and telling, kind of leading people in that direction and saying to them, yeah, this is what we're kind of going to go for in a way. And I think the record is it is indicative of that sound, definitely.
When you go back to your roots, what do you find? Once, because you've been away from them for a while, you've been exploring and moving in other directions, and then you decide to go back. What do you find there?
I think what we've realized is when we go back to what our true essence is, it's that like carefree, fun, dance, groove feeling that was so like kind of based in disco or dance music and stuff. And we like, when we're standing in a room together, even these days, and we're playing, that always feels like our bread and butter, that feeling of just standing around in the room and playing like fun dance music together. So we look back at like our early days and that first record and stuff, and we're kind of leaning back into that realm more intentionally, and wanting it to be really fun and live and whatever feels good,
When you make disco music and dance music, I want to know how the process of recording it works, because you're a band, and my idea of dance music is very much ingrained in the idea of the DJ. You know, the dance floor as being conducted by a person just working some tech and stuff. But
Yeah.
but you've brought it back to this early disco funk era.
Yeah.
And I would like to know how you mix in this particular album the human aspect of playing live and playing together with tech and gadgets and stuff. I guess my question is how much of the how much tech is involved in the making of this new album?
Totally. So the process of the song will start with one person, and then by the time it gets into the room and how it is recorded is like all live, and you're trying to make it as less tech as possible and for it to work just on its own inside of the room. And there was almost an intention to do it as less techy as possible, to not make it really, there's no drum triggers, there's not that many overdubs in a way. It's quite like, it is quite a live sounding record. And you're just wanting it to get it working and just inside of the room and then layering vocals and then percussion and things on top. And then there is these elements of techiness or whatever, or using heaps of sub bass and a few little things that give it this modern maybe DJ feel that might make it fit onto a dance floor and stuff. But it's dance music, but it's really live, and just more about how it makes you feel rather than it being on the grid or being able to being cross-fed into another track or whatever.
And I also mentioned this because having relocated from Australia to Berlin, I wanted to ask you, Noah, how the city's vibrant music scene regarding clubs and disco and dance and stuff like that has influenced this new process and this artistic growth over the years from now till now.
Yeah, well, it had a huge impact on us, and I think you can really hear that inside of Live Volume 2. Where we were, and also you can hear it in just our live show over the last 4 years. It is, like you say, just dance music. That it was a very intentional thing for us, for our transitions to sound like a DJ would make them. Almost we almost wanted, and doing it live between tracks and almost playing dodgy transitions from DJs live, and really trying to be a DJ as a band. That was a huge intention for us, because we've just all spent so much time here at clubs listening to dance music, and being inside of this Berlin world.
Yeah,
I think that kind of phase, it's so cyclical and phase dependent, and I feel like that was a real moment that we had with Berlin, and letting that out of us and getting that Berlin influence out of us over the last couple of years. And it'll always be there, but I think that some of us have even moved back to Australia, and there's less of an impact of the city than there ever was, really, and we're maybe past that now.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Yes, the Live Volume 2 album showcases that trance-infused rendition of your tracks. That was quite an interesting stylistic shift for you guys, wasn't it?
It was wild. Yeah, I remember even being myself a little hesitant to get on this train. Some of the other guys were trance music, we're only doing trance music now, and I was okay, let's do it, I guess. And it was a process in its own way, and we reflect upon that time with a little bit of amusement, or we're just that was such a funny thing to do, and a good thing to get out. But it was definitely radical, and not something that everybody liked or anything. So it's you just do it. You just do what you feel at the time, whatever you're inspired by, and that's all you can do, really.
How did audiences react to that?
not well at first. I remember the first few shows were like, as we were trying this stuff out, we hadn't quite got it together yet, and we were like trying it at these festivals and like daytime slots and stuff. And it was, I remember just being like, man, heartbroken, and seeing the messages of people who'd like traveled so far and hadn't enjoyed it or something, and really getting affected by that and really trying to work on it. And it took us a while to find our way with it, to find like this middle ground, and to make it not be too indulgent, and then by the end we had everybody, I think. And if you look at those last shows of the last album run, we had kind of perfected this thing that will always be probably a part of the live set now. It's like this little arrow that you have in your arsenal, and you know that you can like go and do this thing, and if a moment of the set requires it, or if you're feeling inspired that way. So it was like this thing that we molded. It was like this stone that we had to like smooth out and perfect, and now I feel like it's something that we can do quite readily.
What do you think you guys take the most advantage of nowadays as a creative group? Difference or similarities? Do you negotiate artistic intentions amongst yourselves, and or is it better when you guys are all in agreement of one particular musical line or artistic line? How does that work?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes it's good and it's bad when people are like in disagreements, I guess. When I feel levels of disagreements in the group, or when there's differences of opinions, I feel like we try our best, particularly in certain situations, like in the rehearsal room in preparing for a show, that it kind of, everyone gets heard and it gets molded into this thing that everybody feels quite good about. And that's what I feel Parcels is in lots of ways. Like it's that like pulling every part of everybody's opinions in together, and there's like compromises in there, and some people ideas get left away, or some people have to sacrifice things, but in the end what's left is like this mixture of all of everybody's influences and all of everyone's opinions. And that's when I go, oh, that's the juice of Parcels. Like that's what makes it feel really like great for me and fulfilling. I'm like, that it warms my heart when we're able to do that. And sometimes it's less so, and sometimes people need to step back, and people take space, and some other people lead, or do their work. But I am really surprised at how often we are in similarities. Like we've been mixing the record recently, and a lot of the time I look at the feedback from one of the other guys on a mix or something like that, and I look at it and I listen to the mix and I go, oh, I feel exactly the same about that mix, or that their feedback is so like we're thinking the same way. And that's always really beautiful and validating to be like, oh, we're on the same path, like, or we have the same aesthetic, or we're going towards the same thing.
Cool. I hope I'm not making a mistake, but I think I did watch you guys on a YouTube live stream at Red Rocks.
Yep.
I want to ask you about that experience, because I've never been to Red Rocks, and it seems to me like ever since you two first performed there in 1984, back when they just started touring the US, it seems like when you step on that stage, you step on some sort of alternative pop sacred ground. I don't know if you'd played there before, but I do want to ask what it's like to perform at Red Rocks, given its iconic presence in pop culture.
Yeah, it was so incredible and so beautiful, and so much pressure as well. Like the pressure, like you say, it's this like iconic place where so many amazing, incredible, iconic artists have played and like made this stamp, and it feels like larger than life, that place. And when I step out, when I was stepping out for sound check as well, and it was empty, and you're just seeing this huge amphitheater, and it almost defies like logic in a way. It doesn't look real. It almost looks like a set on some movie or something. And the way that the rocks come up and over each other, it doesn't quite look real. And it was kind of surreal. And then so much, it was such an intense day. And we were doing a live stream as well. And it was one of those ones where you're so stressed and so keen to get it together. And we tried a whole bunch of stuff as well, new things, like the acoustic part of the set and this bluegrass part. And we tried new songs and stuff that we hadn't tried on the nights before, and all getting live streamed. And it was one of those things where you're just in this tunnel and you're like, you're like desperate for it all to work, and it's so stressful. And then you get off stage and you're so in it and you think it was good and you weren't sure. And then you look back at the footage and you're like, okay, it was good. I'm really happy about it. Like, it went really well. And I was stoked with how we did it. I think, the emotions of that play, what we were trying to do, it was huge. It's very big, yeah.
It definitely felt like it. I saw it live. Because I'm subscribed to the channel, and I was like, wow. It did feel very exciting. You could see it. You could see it in the performance. It was.
Yeah, I think I often find that, like, the ones I was really nervous for that show, like more nervous than I mostly get, and sometimes I find the nerves just like bring this extra element of energy. Like, I felt like there was so much pressure for us, like almost like you're almost competing with everybody else who has ever played that venue in a way. Or like, I don't know why we put that pressure on ourselves, but we do. And the nerves of that almost just like spurs you on into this like level of energy and excitement that, like, I could see it from the screen as well when I watched it back.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And we're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys perform here at the Stereo Picnic. It's sure going to be, a wonderful experience. We're a magnificent audience. We're really cool.
I've heard great things.
We're really on the hot side of things. We're always rooting for our artists, and you guys are not going to be the exception. So do expect a lot of energy from us, and just have a wonderful tour. Everything that happens in Europe, you guys deserve. Wonderful album, wonderful new track. We're very excited to have you in Bogota soon. Take good care, Noah. It's been great talking to you. Thank you for giving me these few minutes.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. See you there, guys.
Take care. Acabo de hablar con Teddy Swims, una figura bien importante del pop de los últimos 5 años, que comenzó su carrera probando ser intérprete de diferentes canciones estándares importantes en su canal de YouTube, y terminó convirtiéndose en una de las figuras más grandes que ha dado Estados Unidos en materia de pop, con su canción Lose Control, y posteriormente con una canción llamada Bad Dreams y con otra llamada The Door. Una carrera de más de 10 años que muestra mucha tenacidad, mucha fuerza, mucha perseverancia, una lucha constante por mantenerse vigente en un momento en que la vigencia no parece ser como la denominación más grande de la música pop. En fin, Teddy es un gran compositor y además de eso un intérprete gigantesco que en la década que en el año 2020 se hizo viral nuevamente gracias a su canal de YouTube con una canción de Bonnie Raitt llamada Can't Make You Love Me, y que resultó ser para esas épocas de cuarentena muy balsámica y un aire muy fresco de la música norteamericana del sur de los Estados Unidos. Teddy es obviamente inspirado por los grandes artistas de country como la misma Bonnie Raitt, pero también su espíritu está en el soul, en Stevie Wonder, en Marvin Gaye, en Al Green, y eso se nota mucho cuando usted lo oye cantar Lose Control. Tuve la oportunidad de hablar con él aquí en el Stereo Picnic backstage antes de su show, y estuvimos hablando de eso, ¿no? De country, de soul, de Nashville, del sur de Estados Unidos, de su experiencia como futuro papá, de lo que eso va a representar para escribir canciones nuevas, de lo que implica para un artista joven de 30 años en esta era abandonar esta idea de la vigencia y dedicarse a encontrar un sonido propio y la autenticidad que lo lleva a construir una comunidad de fans, de oyentes, de gente que lo acompaña a donde quiera que vaya. Esta es mi charla desde el Estéreo Picnic con Teddy Swims. What's going on, man? Hey,
Not
so
too
good
much.
to meet you.
You too, bud.
How you been?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. We got in real kind of late last night, and so, we just kind of went to sleep and woke up here. So, kind of haven't seen too much, but.
Tell me a little bit about the tour. How's it been?
Oh, it's been so cool. Our first time in South America too, so I got to see so much Argentina and Chile, and it's just been so inviting and cool, and I don't know, I've had a blast, man.
It's been quite an interesting 5 years for you, right?
Hell yeah.
I mean, I as I was coming to see you and to meet you, I was remembering that very first time I saw you during the pandemic on YouTube. You were this amazing discovery of music that just, for many of us, represented a sort of solace from everything that was going on. When I first bumped into your YouTube channel back in 2020, I was like, wow, there's some hope for humanity out there.
Oh, well, that means a lot to hear that.
It meant for many of us.
That's good to hear, man. I think we were very fortunate because, during that time, me and all my friends were, who were still in my band, and we were all living together at that time. So at a time where everybody was quarantined and wasn't able to make music, we had a studio at the house and the cameras, and so in a world where everybody was not able to do anything, we still had the opportunity to keep making content and keep creating. And so I think in a lot of ways that time was a blessing for us too, to really kind of like dive into writing and figuring out where we wanted to go and kind of make a name for ourselves, and so I look back at that time with some fondness, but of course, like a lot of depression in those eras for all of us too. So
definitely. Let me bring you back to the present and ask you, after those 5 years, what would you say is the biggest change in your life as a musician has been?
Man, I think that's such a hard question to answer, because I think I've kind of found what it is that I do, or I guess what I bring to the table as far as I guess my own artist perspective. I find that like I found my type of sound and flow and what it is we bring to the table that no one else does, and I think it took a long time to develop that and figure out what it was, and I think we've really kind of hit the nail a little bit.
What's the hardest part of finding your own sound?
I think it was always, how do I say this, like looking at the people that I looked up to and always comparing myself to them. I think it was very hard for me to understand that those people that I looked up to, some of the songs I covered, or some of the people that I was influenced by were influences, that those were tools in my shed that I could use, like, Still the One, or How Will I Ever Write a Song like I Can't Make You Love Me. But when I think about it, Stevie Wonder didn't grow up listening to Stevie Wonder. Michael didn't grow up listening to Michael. So instead of comparing myself to them, I started learning that I was very fortunate to be so influenced by them and using them as a tool in my shed of different inspirations, rather than comparing myself and feeling like a failure. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but now that you mentioned Can't Make You Love Me, I want to go back to that 2020 for a minute before we get on the new album and everything that's happened over the course of these few months. And I remember listening to this song on the radio with my father back in 1990 in South Florida, and then then there you were performing this on YouTube, and I want to know why you picked that song.
That song has always been my favorite. I think it's my favorite song ever written. Awesome. I think that song just is always, it's from relationships I've had, and it's healed me a lot of times in situations that I came through, and I think that I just always resonated with that song, and I always felt like it was relatable to experiences in my life, and there's such a beautiful thing about music, that somebody could write something and come from a different place, but when you hear it, it's in a different place in your life, and it's bound to the certain relationship you may have been going through, to, or a certain time frame, maybe a summer in your life, you know, and so I always felt very connected to that song, and I think it really showed through too when we performed it. It kind of seemed as if it was, you know, something honest, and I think that really did something for us. And I also think one thing I've always enjoyed watching about that YouTube cover is that there's so many reaction videos on YouTube that I used to go through the rabbit hole, because there's that minute of just piano and I'm standing there looking like I look, and I think there was a good juxtaposition about the way I looked versus the way I sounded, and I think that did a lot for us, kind of leaning into that gimmick of like, oh, that voice comes out of that guy, you know, and so that really did a lot for me to, you might think I was, you know, a metal kid, and which I am, you know, I was a screamer for a long time, but I think when they heard me sing, they were like very shocked about, wow, this is so honest and emotional, and I think that really did a lot for me.
Let's talk about being a metal kid and what that brought or brings to the table as the musician that you are now.
I think there's always this freedom of expression, and this when I was playing metal and I was screaming in metal bands, it was always just this. It wasn't always about writing something that was going to work in pop culture, you know. It was about the fun and the time signature changes and the heaviness and the expression and I think the crowd that I grew up in front of was always, you know, willing to beat the heck out of each other, you know, and like there was so much movement and expression in that, and so I think that gave me a lot of on stage, especially a lot of presence that I still, you know, lean into those crowds and try to move and control a crowd like that. I think you learn that the best from that type of music.
Amazing. Let's talk about Lose Control and the impact that it's had worldwide, and the process that you have talked to me about, you know, being who you are right now. Once you find that voice of your own, do you look for that song that's gonna change things?
You know, I think there was a lot of time in my life where I was trying to write that song, you know, and I was trying to write the song that was a hit, you know. And I think I'd set myself up for failure at so much of times, because you might be in the middle of writing a good song and it feels like not a hit, and so then you're like, fuck it, and you move on, right? And
right.
I think a lot of times people, when you try to write the hit or when you try to write something relatable, you never get it. You know, when you just write something that's honest and it's coming from a place and it feels good, then most of the time it will feel good. Because I think one thing that Lose Control taught me is when we got done with it, we all knew in our heart that was like a life-changing song for me. I knew that was the one. And also what I like about Lose Control is I know that song's a hit record, but only if I sang that song would it have been a hit record. It's not just like a hit record that anybody could sing, you know, and I think it showed me that the authenticity that we brought out of me and brought into that song, and that I sang it, and everything that went with it, the whole world that was built around it, is what made that a hit. You know, it was almost the perfect storm had to happen with that perfect song for the perfect artist that needed that perfect song, you know, and so I think that showed me a lot of just trying to write something authentic, because that's what's going to speak through, and that's what's going to make more people you know, want to listen to the thing that is, I guess sometimes the thing that's most, you think is the thing that is most unrelatable to everybody else, it's so specific to you, that becomes the most relatable thing for some reason, you know? Yeah, and I think it also showed me too that song is still, as it's growing and still making movements and still staying around and being the behemoth that it is. I think that it showed me that there was never really any like trend on TikTok that was taking it anywhere and blowing up that way. I think we went all over the world, and we went to every radio station, and we sang on the side of the street with any busker that was playing, or we went to every karaoke bar, and wherever they would let us sing that song, we were pushing that song and running all over the world to push that song. And I think it showed me too that if you push a song and you like, I think the old way of moving music still works, like doing the press, doing the things, and like going out and singing the song and showing the people, and I don't know, for lack of a better term, shoving that song down people's throats, you know, until they like, because I just knew if they heard the song, they'd love the song, you know, and if I performed the song for them, they'd love it. And I just think there was not enough people hearing it, so I had to go all over the damn world and to everybody's house and knock on the door and say, listen to my song, you know. It takes that to get something to cut through the noise of 100,000 songs that come out a day. Yours has got to be special because you believe it, and the more you push it, the more it succeeds, I think.
Yeah, Teddy, same thing happens with the Doors. Same thing happens with
Yeah.
Dreams, you know, which is interesting because authenticity is like capturing lightning in a bottle, and it's really fucking hard to do. You know?
Yeah.
You manage to pull it off over and over and over again, and it's like, wow. I mean, because you could do it once, but you did it twice, you did it thrice.
Well, that, yeah,
Damn.
thank God, you know, because that was the fear after having one, being like, oh shit, please don't let this be the only one, you know. So I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that it's working, and I'm so hungry for like 20 more of those guys, man. I need them, you know what I mean? So we'll see. Hopefully we don't fizzle out. But I think most importantly though, it's like, I tried, now that we have built a foundation, I want to do my best to serve those people that love me, you know, and as long as we serve those fans, I think more and more fans are going to come through the door. It's not so much about making new fans, it's about the word of mouth that comes when somebody loves Teddy Swims so much, they want to show a friend that ends up loving Teddy Swims, and then they share this bond over this song or this album. And so I think the truth of like growing your fan base now is to I guess serve the community that already loves you, you know.
Amazing.
That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? I'm pretty sure that 10 years from now, we're still going to be talking about those songs because they're still timeless.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah, I know. Really...
That's what happens with great songs. You know, they just, I have some friends that can be talking about a song that came out 10 years ago and say, have you heard this song? It's fucking great. It's like, dude, it came out 10 years ago. So I think that they do fit that description.
Yeah, I think that's like one thing about it is it was not really like the pop format, you know, and we saw with Lose Control especially that when originally it was like it was never pop music, and everybody looked at it as not pop music until we started working in a different, you know, sections of the world, and then it was starting to work, and surely enough, like at the end of the day, pop music is popular music, so it had to be pop music after a while, because it's like it's clearly pop, it's popular, so you know, then eventually everybody understood that it was pop music. And I think that was the good thing, is rather than follow some trend or some sound that's happening now and throwing you through the machine and giving you the good song, I think we kind of created a lane, and now it's so nuts to see people coming up and trying to write songs that are similar to that one, you know.
Of course. How'd you feel at the Grammys? I remember, you know, seeing just, it sort of seems to us who've been following you for a few years that when you make it to the Grammys, to this tribute moment, we see you there and you say, damn, this guy, you know, that has come full circle. He's made it.
Yeah.
I want to know what
I mean,
it felt like.
It was so beautiful to sing that song in front of so many heroes, but now be able to call them my peers, you know, it's like such a nutty feeling. And I think we wanted to make sure when we did our performance there that it wasn't about all the flashing lights and the dancing and the big movements. So we wanted to just make it. It was guitar, piano, and some strings and a vocal, and I wanted to make sure that vocal was really, you know, it was the most intimate thing that we could do. And I think that spoke a lot that night over a lot of performances that were just big and flashy and dancers everywhere. No knock against them, but I think we kind of broke the mold a little bit there to just try to be, you know, as intimate as possible with that performance, to just let my voice in that song, the emotion, really capture the you know, people.
Yeah. Do you still live in the South?
You know, I'm just now moving back to Nashville next month, so I've been living in LA for the last couple of years.
What's it been like?
LA, it took me a while to find my footing, you know, to find people that I like to be around and places I like to go. It was kind of a change from living in Georgia my whole life, you know. People are different. Things are different, and
of course,
now that my son's going to be born in June, I want to move back down south, you know, where he gets raised on the yes ma'am and the no sirs. That's and the, right. You know, and
I love that.
He has a little southern accent, you know. I didn't want my kid to be an LA kid, you know what I mean? No offense to LA kids. I'm just saying I wanted my boy to be a good southern boy, you know.
Yeah, you know, you gotta love that southern hospitality.
Yeah, dude.
It's just one of the greatest things in America.
Yeah, and it gets, and my parents are only 4-hour drive from Georgia, so they don't have to fly across the country to come see the baby. They can come up every weekend and hang out with him.
The first kid?
Yeah.
All right, congratulations.
Yeah, my little boy, man. I'm so excited to meet him.
What's in the future? What's next?
You know, we're gonna be doing a whole lot of writing, and I'm gonna do a lot of learning and growing and becoming a father. And so, you know, as I'm writing this next record, you know, and still touring all this year, but as I'm writing this next record and being a father, I think it's going to change the way I think and write, and it's going to change every fucking thing, you know. So I'm looking forward to see the man I'm becoming and the music that's going to bring.
Mm-hmm. How's the record writing going?
How's good? Good.
On the road, is it?
We're not really.
fruitful?
Every once in a while, we'll like pull out something on an off day in a hotel and get hammered and write something for the fun of it. But I haven't gone into like serious writing yet. Next month when we're home, and I'll be going back into writing camp and really getting back into the swing of writing. There's always this fear when you haven't written a long time, like, and so it takes a couple days to get the like juices flowing again and be like, oh, I still remember how to do this. But there's like this anxiety of like, I don't know if I know how to write a song anymore. So I'm pumped to scratch the itch and knock the rust off of it.
Well, listen, you're about an hour and a half from hitting the stage, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, brother.
Great meeting you, Teddy Swims.
Thank you so much,
you so
brother.
much
Yeah,
for being
great
here.
conversation,
Yeah,
man.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ministerio TIC,